Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today with the most exciting news you'll read all week. Activision Blizzard made $4 billion on microtransactions last year, reads a headline from GameSpot, which I will have linked in the description down below. Let's dive right into the nitty gritty and get into exactly how they made this much money. Microtransactions are big business at Activision Blizzard. The company said today in an earnings report that revenue from in-game net bookings, which includes things like DLC sales, loot boxes, and in-app purchases on mobile games, reached $4 billion for 2017. During the fourth quarter alone, Activision Blizzard brought in over $1 billion for in-game net bookings. These figures represent quarterly and annual records for Activision Blizzard. Importantly, as analyst Daniel Ahmad explained on Twitter, around $2 billion of Activision Blizzard's annual revenue from in-game net bookings came from the company's mobile subsidiary, King, which operates Candy Crush. The other $2 billion came from Activision Blizzard's console and PC efforts, along with Activision Blizzard's efforts on mobile, such as Hearthstone. So, the combination of Candy Crush, Overwatch loot boxes, Call of Duty World War II loot crates, and Hearthstone on phones has led to $4 billion. The thing that blows my mind the most is that half this money came from Candy Crush, but when I look anywhere, when I see people on their phones and stuff, I don't see anybody playing Candy Crush. Does anyone know anybody who plays Candy Crush? Obviously there are people out there playing it, but I've never met a soul who has met it, and I've met tons of gamers and non-gamers alike, but I never see anyone on Candy Crush. Obviously this money's coming from somewhere, and it's going straight into Activision's pockets. Activision's not the only one who's benefiting from microtransactions. EA has made millions, almost billions on this. It's just insane to see how much has come in through this. Now we have to consider what the microtransaction actually is, and in both, for example, Call of Duty World War II as well as Overwatch, we have microtransactions there that are merely cosmetic and don't impact the gameplay. On the flip side, we have Destiny, which has had a lot of issues with gating consumers and DLC that impacts the consumer and their experience in some way, shape, or form. I don't really want to go over and tread the same ground that we do every single conversation of microtransactions, that, okay, they're obviously awful, we're feeling bad business practices, they're causing us to split up our games. We've heard all of this before. So what is the breakthrough? What is the cause of this issue? Why are they making so much money off of this? Well, first of all, they're making so much money off of it, it's obvious. They're not going to stop it. Even if they made, I think, half this money, they'd still keep bringing out microtransactions. Hell, I think if they made 500,000, they'd keep putting microtransactions in. Why is that? Because it's just additional money that they can possibly earn on top of the game itself. Publishers are well aware that microtransactions can be bad for business in the terms of PR and can turn off a lot of consumers. But the way the company will look at it is, okay, Joe Schmo may not buy this game, but if this other person buys this game, and then they also buy a bunch of microtransactions, they don't need Joe Schmo to buy the game. Microtransactions make up the difference, and not only that, they also add on to the amount of money you earn continuously after purchases. So it doesn't just stop at the $60 mark or whatever price point it gets to after sales. No, they continue to make money afterwards, years down the line, just thanks to microtransactions. It all boils down to consumer responsibility, really. It absolutely does. There are certain game experiences that are tweaked to encourage microtransactions, and Activision Blizzard has certainly been guilty of that, as we've seen. But the way we weed out these practices is like what happened with Battlefront 2. We raise hell. We say, I'm not buying that. And then guess what? We don't buy it. And we see the impact it has. Consumers need to speak more with their wallets. Now, granted, Activision Blizzard has their grip on a lot of titles that a lot of people play, and buying microtransactions just, I can't believe, will outright stop. But it can slow down, and maybe we'll get more reasonable pieces of content. But like all these conversations go, it's always retreading the old ground. It's hard to make any more arguments about microtransactions when people are clearly continuously buying them. And you know what? That's the consumer's decision at that point. Do they not have enough time to game? Do they feel like spending an extra $20 on a game they're only going to be playing for the next year is worth it? That's up to them at that point in time, and there are a lot more people out there like that. So there's a lot worth considering the microtransactions discussion, because it all boils down to people having different situations, different circumstances, and how these microtransactions can enable them, or in some cases disable, their gaming experience. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this beautiful headline in the comments down below. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. Those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that, as it fuels all the content we create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.